I'd like to ask the Chief Minister how many immigration employment documents have been issued in each of the last 5 years, broken down by employment type and contribution to the GDP.
Call on the Chief Minister, Mr Quayle, to reply.
Thank you, Mr President. It may be helpful for honourable members if I begin by setting out that the term immigration and employment document has two separate definitions, one for the purposes of the Isle of Man immigration rules and the other for the purposes of the Control of Employment Act 2014. For the purposes of immigration, the term immigration employment document is defined in the Isle of Man immigration rules as a work permit or other document which relates to employment and is issued for the purpose of those rules or in connection with leave to enter or remain in the Isle of Man. This definition has not changed since its introduction in the 2009 Isle of Man immigration rules. The term immigration employment document was also used in the Isle of Man Control of Employment Regulation 2015. The purpose of the definition was to remove certain categories of individuals entering the Isle of Man through the immigration points-based system from the additional requirement to obtain a work permit. A new definition was substituted by the Council of Employment Regulations 2017, the effect of which was to remove the requirement to have a work permit in addition to a visa for most categories of persons from outside the European Economic Area. We are not able to break down the number of immigration employment documents issued in the last 5 years by contribution to GDP. We do not hold such information, and to collect it would require comprehensive research and analysis which would be resource intense, including individuals' income, information on the companies those individuals work for, and spend in the local economy. I would also add that while Section 106 of the Income Tax Act 1970 enables provision of data to the Cabinet Office for government statistical purposes, the information in respect of individual taxpayers and legal entities is held in the strictest confidence by the assessor. The number of immigration employment documents issued in each of the last 5 years, broken down by employment type, has been captured in a document which, with permission, has already been circulated to honourable members for their consideration. I would add by way of clarification that a migrant could be issued with several immigration employment documents, and therefore the figures do not translate to the number of migrants. I would be pleased to answer any further questions on this matter or meet with any member who would like to discuss this in more detail, as it is an incredibly complex issue and the specialist officers would be available to answer the detailed questions.
Supplementary question, Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr President, and thank you to the Chief Minister for circulating in advance the breakdown, which was very helpful. You did just make a comment there that you can't give a more detailed breakdown. As these documents relate to sponsors, and they have to have a sponsor to bring a person in to work on the island with immigration documents, surely it's possible to break it down by the area of the economy that people are employed in. And I also wonder whether you could give any information, and I'm happy to meet with officers with regards to how many of these documents have been issued for public sector employees. Thank you, Mr President.
Chief Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr President. I'm grateful that the honourable member would like to come along to meet to discuss other issues, but I suppose she's correct, the honourable member is correct, Ms Edge, that we could provide evidence based on sector. I think the numerous pages I've sent out for the categories show the type of grade that we're allowing in. But I suppose it's a case of resources, as I said, Mr President, in my opening statement. You can't have your cake and eat it, honourable member. If you're wanting to cut the number of civil servants and you're asking questions on pay bands, etc., etc., you can't then ask for me to employ more to provide more evidence. So it's getting that balance right. Yes, we could provide all sorts of statistical information. It's just what would the cost benefits be to the economy. Now, if a good argument is put forward that extra staffing to do a certain job will pay dividends, then I'll certainly listen to the member's case.
Supplementary question, Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr President. I'm actually quite surprised to hear that. I would have thought when we're collecting data to understand the full implications of anybody or anything any companies coming to the island, that would be data that would be very valuable to the island. I accept that I will go and meet with the officers, but I think there are plenty of employees gathering some information. To add an extra 1 or 2 lines in would not be a significant resources. Thank you, Mr President.
Chief Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. I thank the Honourable Member for Onchan for that speech. If I may point out that Table 3 of the document that was circulated to all honourable members, including my honourable colleague for Onchan, Ms Edge, does clearly show the number of jobs and type from personnel training and industrial relations manager, as an example, IT strategy and planning professionals. The next page shows solicitors, actuaries. It has been split down into about 50 individual jobs. So the information that she's looking for has actually been provided to the Honourable Member in quite a lot of detail and over the period that the Honourable Member had asked for.
Final supplementary question, Ms A.
Thank you, Mr President. I appreciate that I have got a breakdown of the employee sectors, and that's why I can't understand, and I'd ask the Chief Minister, if he can, give some sort of breakdown of the economic benefit to the Isle of Man for each of these sectors. Thank you, Mr President.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr President. Obviously, if there's any additional information that we have to hand, I'm always happy to share. But as I've said before, to go into the detail that the Honourable Member wanted, A, I wouldn't get that information from the Assessor of Income Tax because we wouldn't be allowed to see it. But B, it would take a considerable amount of officer time. Happy to have the meeting, and then maybe if there's a middle ground that we can find to help satisfy the Honourable Member, then I'm sure we'll do our utmost to help.